Hello friends, and welcome to the last video of my deep dive into the Egyptian Tarot by the Brotherhood of Light. Now, if this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. I've got a whole playlist of this deep dive into the Egyptian Tarot that you can start from the beginning whenever you like. If you are a returning visitor, you already know that this is my deep dive into the Egyptian Tarot. And thank you for returning, and thank you for walking this path with me. And I am deeply honored that you have joined me here on the last video. So friends, just in case you are new here, let me give you an outline of what exactly I have been doing. This is the second time I've done a deep dive into a deck. The first time I did a deep dive was about 7 months ago in summer, and I did a deep dive into the Tarot of the Holy Light by the brilliant Christine Payne-Towler. Now I'm doing the Egyptian Tarot by the Brotherhood of Light. And what I do is every night before I go to bed, I riffle shuffle my color version that is readily available, easily replaced, that version of the Egyptian Tarot. And I ask the question, what would I benefit from giving my attention to the following day? And I pull a card. And then I pull the matching card from my very out of print charcoal gray and white version of the deck by C.C. Zane. And I look at them. I look at the differences. Sometimes there are slight differences. Sometimes they are very large. But basically the decks are the same, except one is in color and one is not. And then I ask the Tarot of the Holy Light to help me unpack that daily draw card. How do I do that? I do a 3-card spread. The first card is the significance of the daily draw card for me for the following day. The second card is the challenge, either the positive or the negative challenge for me. And then the third card is the advice, significance, challenge, advice. And then I go to sleep, I wake up the next day, I live my life, and then I come back and I analyze the card and the spread, and I check the astrological associations and the significances and how they speak to each other or they don't, and how they revealed themselves to me, or perhaps whether I might need to do a little bit more reflection on the day. And then I come back and come here and do this video for us. For us, it is really for us. It's for you because I hope that you get something out of this. And if you do get something out of this, hit that thumbs up button so that YouTube knows that you did, and it will draw other people to the channel. Like flies to honey. Not that I'm thinking that you as a fly, that's just the closest cliche that came to mind. Like moths to a flame. That's it. That's the better one. Like moths to a flame. Not that I think that I'm that bright as a flame, but still, that's the only second one that I could think of. Anyways, moving right along. So yeah, that thumbs up button really helps. So yes, right, back on track. We're here at the last episode, and I did my final draw with the Egyptian Tarot. And let's take a look at those cards right now. Friends, if you've been following along and you were here yesterday, you will have seen that I got, well, actually, okay, so the day before yesterday, I got the Judgment card. Yeah, card number 20. The next day I got the World, card number 21, which is basically the end of a cycle. And actually, when I got that card, I thought, you know, that this would have really been a great reading to end the series on. Yeah, ending with the World would have been so cool. But I thought, no, I don't want to. I want to keep to my plan, doing 50 days. Yeah, 50 days. And tomorrow is the new moon, so I would have been changing up my decks anyway, so it just seemed like the best thing. So I did my daily draw last night, and I got, I just showed you. I got, not the Empress. In this deck, she is called Isis Unveiled. Yeah? What is generally thought of as the High Priestess or the Popess in either Terre de Marseille or the Golden Dawn decks. In this deck, she is card number 2. What we often think of as the High Priestess or the Popess is Isis veiled, veiled Isis. So what we usually think of as the Empress is Isis unveiled. She's taken off her veil right here. So what do we see here? We see that she's seated within a radiant sun with 30 rays, and those 30 rays indicate the 30 degrees of each sign of the zodiac, which we usually split into 3 decanates. Deca meaning 10, 3 sets of 10, right? 30 degrees in one zodiacal sign. She's crowned with the 12 stars to represent those 12 signs in the zodiac. Her feet rest upon the moon, symbol of the feminine in nature. And the cube upon which she sits represents the cross of matter, the more masculine perhaps, where rays of the sun and moon meet, and so signifies the union of male and female forces. And often we think of the Empress as being perhaps the ultimate sign of the female in the trumps. In this deck, she is the union of the male and the female, in a sense. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. So the masculine or the male is the magician, the magus. The female is Isis veiled. And then those two forces join here in the Empress in a way. So on the forehead of Isis Unveiled, she has a serpent, which is the symbol of enlightenment. And she carries a scepter, essentially a phallus, and indicates the perpetual action of creative energy upon all things born or those things which are yet to be born. She also carries an eagle, the symbol of fruitfulness and of the heights to which the flights of the spirit can raise itself through the emotions engendered in union. The seat upon which she sits is covered with eyes, indicating that through union, the eyes of the soul have been opened to a knowledge of good and evil. So, in a sense, there's also the idea of the first woman, Eve, who has received that apple from the serpent, a sign of enlightenment here, and has eaten of it and has gained the wisdom of the difference between good and evil. Which a lot of people think of, well, that's not good. That got us kicked out of paradise. But we were intended to leave paradise. Yeah, paradise, in a sense, was our cradle. And just like a baby grows and evolves and leaves the cradle, so we were intended, we came into these bodies as physical beings to leave the cradle of the Garden of Eden and experience the world and evolve. And the first step of that evolution was the gaining of knowledge of duality, of the difference between good and evil, light and dark, cold and hot, which we had no idea of when we were in the allegorical Garden of Eden, before we got that knowledge. That makes sense, right? So, what else do we have here? We also have the Empress, who points to Libra, which is the domicile of Venus, from which these cardinal heirs' vital attributes enter our world. There's a lot of mind and communication here, and balance in this card. Again, like the balance between male and female, masculine, feminine, hot, cold, good, bad, as far, but I wouldn't go that far, because I don't think this card is putting those value judgments on things, right? There might be other spectrums that we're talking of, but that sense of values of this is right and that is wrong, I don't think we're joining those things here. What else do we have? We also have this being card number 3. It also is associated with, down there at the bottom, we have Gimel. Now, Gimel can be a camel or a rope. It could also be a benefactor walking to Dalet, the weak. A benefactor, the one with resources, moving in the direction of Dalet, which is the weak one, to offer, to give support and sustenance. It's also the homophone of the word meaning to nourish until completely ripe, like nourishing plants for the harvest, nourishing our environment for its growth. Also here, the 3 dissolves the conflict of the 2. Of like 1 and 2, the conflict in the dichotomy of two-ness, this is dissolved in the 3 and creates harmony in the Hebrew mysticism. The 3 is the number of harmonics and achieving and realizing harmony. Now, as far as runes go, it's thurizaz, yeah? Futhar, F, Fehu, Urus, thurizaz, the 3rd letter. And it looks like kind of like a rose stem with a thorn on it. So it could be a thorn, but it could also be power, protection, defense, overcoming obstacles. Perhaps a lot of things that this Queen of Heaven, this Isis Unveiled, would be able to do. And what does this Isis Unveiled signify according to the guidebooks? She signifies marriage or action, actions and reactions, like perhaps a little bit of a Libran thing there, yeah. And Venus being the idea of marriage, success in creative pursuits, mind over matter. Thoughts are things that I would generally associate more with the magus or the magician, but they're here for her as well. A union of minds, that union of Venus in Libra is there. Social activities, mental and social pursuits, line of least resistance. Yeah? We often think of Libra as the one who finds the 3rd way, the smooth path, the mediator. So the line of least resistance, finding that and becoming that. So this was my card for today. And perhaps the deck, because this didn't really seem like something that would have meaning for me today. Because today really would be, at the time I drew this card, would be a quiet day of being at home and not doing much, of recovering from the week before, but then preparing for the week ahead. And so then I thought, well, maybe this card is not for tomorrow, but it's for the next cycle. Now that I've finished this series, the deck was saying, okay, so yesterday was the end of the series, and now this is the final video, but it's preparing for you for the next thing. It's kind of like, now it would have been nice if this were the Fool, but the next thing is a creative thing. That might be what this is trying to point to. Actions and reactions, success in creative pursuits, right? Those are some things that were running through my mind. And so I did my 3-card spread. Now, I asked for help from the Tarot of the Holy Light. Let me show you those cards right now. When these 3 cards came out, I was thinking to myself, oh, Tarot of the Holy Light, you're being nice to me, aren't you? Thank you very much. You saw from left to right that we got the Chariot as the unpacking card, the card to unpack the Empress, not the Empress, Isis Unveiled. Then for the challenge, we had Temperance. And then finally, for the advice, we had the 8 of Wands. Interesting, all upright. And if you've been following along, you already know that every time I shuffle the deck of the Tarot of the Holy Light, I shuffle in reversals. From the first time I shuffled this until the last time I will shuffle this, what I do is I split the deck in half. I turn half of it around, and riffle shuffle. And then I split the deck in half. I turn it around and I riffle shuffle. So every time I riffle shuffle this deck, I'm shuffling in reversals, and then reversals of reversals, and then reversals of reversals of reversals. Yeah, they're just getting all turned around, which is the way that this deck was intended to be used. So, even so, we have 3 upright cards for the unpacking of Isis Unveiled, and for the last video of the series. And so again, I thought, Thank you very much. This gave me a little bit of a feeling of upliftment, even though, of course, yes, now, if you know me, you know that I always say, reversed cards are not bad things. They're not evil things. They're not predictions of misfortune. They are not misfortune of themselves. They are no better or worse than upright cards. They do take a little bit more work. They do point to things that we want to be careful of, that we want to inspect, that we want to perhaps circumnavigate. But they're not pointing at us saying, you're a bad boy and a girl or a trans person. They're not pointing at us saying that you non-binary person, you male person, you female person, whatever you are, you're doing something wrong, or you're going to do something wrong, or you better watch out because something's going to fall on your head, right? That's not what their reversed cards are telling us. Reverse cards are advice. They're like, Colette Baron Reid says that they're like a hug from the universe, saying, come here, let's do this together. Whereas an upright card is just, okay, you got this, you can just get going. And so, not feeling like I didn't need the hug and it was just like a kick out the door was kind of refreshing as a final video for this series. Like, okay, let's move on. That makes sense, right? So it did feel a little bit like a pat on the back. So what was this pat on the back? Again, we're going to start with the Chariot as the card which explains or assists us with the significance of Isis Unveiled. And what do we see? We see this gorgeous Chariot card. Now we're used to seeing two horses in the Chariot card, and they are there. Do you see them? The dark horse is in the background. The light horse is in the little bit more in the foreground. It can be a little difficult to see the dark horse. Now, instead of a wheel, a normal wagon wheel, we see a disc of, it looks kind of like a hole in the universe, right? With the divine eye peeking through and clouds around it. That is the wheel. That's what's driving the Chariot, is the divine mind, the divine consciousness. And we see the charioteer is more of a female-looking figure, and she probably is Sophia. And at the bottom, we see that this is Gemini, right? So the Chariot card points to Gemini, which is the domicile of Mercury, from which these mutable heirs' vital attributes enter our world. And we got the Chariot before on January 9th as advice. Now, January 9th was the first day of actual classes for the winter camp that I taught at. So that was like the day of a new beginning. A scary new beginning for me at the time, because I had no idea what I got myself into, but a new beginning. And so this being the final day of this series, it being a new beginning for the next cycle of my YouTube channel, made kind of sense, right? Makes kind of sense. Our endings are always beginnings. Our beginnings are always partially endings, right? So, the Chariot also being card number 7. Now, isn't that interesting? I want to say this before I forget it, because I could forget it in the discussion of these cards, but this is 7, this is 14, right? This is the end of the first what is it? The word's gone. The group of 7, not the septuagenarian, not the Septuagint, the Septuagint, the 7, the first set of 7 cards of the Tarot. This is the end of the second set of 7 cards in the Tarot. That was pretty cool, I thought. That was significant, is significant. So again, and I didn't mention the zodiacal wheel behind the head of Sophia there. So this is the 7th card, which indicates the 7th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which is Zayin, which can be sustenance and nourishment. Now remember, we did a little bit of that here too, right? In the rune for, where was that? Where was that? Sustenance and nourishment. Yes, in Gimel. In Gimel, for card number 3, yeah, we had that idea of nourishing the environment or nourishing things until they are ripe. Yeah, the nourishing. Now here is the nourishment, right? The sustenance, the stuff which feeds us. We also have the weapon or sword. And it can also be a phallic uh, symbol, the Zayin. The letter kind of looks like a little phallus. It could also be the cutting of things, like the cutting up of time, like the 7th day of the week, which is a day of rest, right? The 7th year was also a year of rest for the Hebrews. That's the year that the land should lie fallow. And also, the 7th set of okay, let me say this again. The end of the 7th set of 7 years, which would be year 49, the 50th year is the Jubilee year, if you know that. And the Jubilee year is the time when the land and all the people rest. It's also the time when slaves are freed. It's the time of justice and liberty and freedom. So the cutting up of things to then have that period of refreshment and sustenance and nourishment and freedom and all of that wonderful stuff. Now, we also have the rune Kanaz. And I deliberately wore this in honor of this. Yeah, this is Kanaz. Kanaz, which is things like enlightenment, visions, revelation, inspiration, wisdom. Also passion, vitality, and regeneration. Also creativity and love are part of this rune, Kanaz, which is the 7th rune. So what does the chariot signify? Being again, Gemini, mutable air, Mercury is beaming through its house into our lives, into our natal charts, into the question we're asking the tarot, which is which is communicative, which is studious, which is a little bit bouncing around and disorganized and unfocused at times, but not always. So, in this chariot, we're asked to bring all that stuff together into one focused thing. Because Mercury, when Mercury gets a little bit scattered in Gemini, loses power. But when we bring the two sides together in Gemini, we have great power. Willpower, right? So here we have the idea of polarity, libido, and awakening consciousness, harnessed to influence the evolution of each other. So libido evolves and consciousness is evolved by the union of the two. Also, we have working towards a common goal. Now, with the two horses going together, the two beings of Gemini going together, moving matter with time, with the mind of spirit. A little bit of this, right? A little bit of an echo there. So spirit and mind helps move matter. Mental ambidexterity. Again, Mercury and Gemini. Left and right brains working together. That's the key. Either Athena bringing gifts of wisdom or Sophia aligning with the divine will, the cosmos now functioning as one. The divine female, the divine monad joined in harmony, in moving forward, in evolution, in progress. All that wonderful stuff. So, unpacking this, we get that idea of, in order for this to be fulfilled, the joining of things needs to happen, right? The nourishment is important. The feeding of the self and the environment, or whatever we're focusing on, is asked for. Mental dexterity, mental ambidexterity is asked for to bring this to fruition, I believe, is what we're talking about. And so the advice, what was the advice? The advice here was temperance, a very deceptively simple looking card to me. What do we see? We see this angel, which could be Raphael, this beautiful angelic figure, looking feminine to me. Does it look like a female? I'm sorry, not feminine, female. Looking like a female form to me. I try to eliminate words like masculine and feminine from my vocabulary now because I think that they point to things, to habits of thought that are unhelpful. Now, forms are generally either male, female, or somewhere in between. And this form looks like it's female to me. Not that it means much of anything, it's just what it looks like. And so we see at the bottom that it is Scorpio, my ascending sign. Just saying. My ascendant is Scorpio. And so temperance points to Scorpio, which is the domicile of Mars, from which these fixed waters vital attributes enter our world. So we had Venus popping up in Libra, and here we have her partner Mars popping up in Scorpio, both of them on the dry way, the ascending way, the way of the father of the zodiac. Now what do we call that? The pillar of mercy, perhaps, if we were to place it. Now I'm mixing my metaphors. So let's just keep it to the dry way, the ascending way. Libra and Scorpio are both on that side of ascension, reaching up to the divine, reaching up to the end of the cycle. And so we've had this card before, February 1st, as a challenge, by the way. And temperance being card number 14, again, the end of the second set of 7 cards, is Nun for the Hebrew letter. Nun. And that Nun looks kind of like this, but it's the serpent, the fish, or it's also the faithful one. Yeah, also carrying knowledge of the old world over water of destruction to the new world, like Noah's Ark. Yeah, carrying the culture of the past over the period of destruction into the new. Which, the period of destruction, card 13, right? What we call the death card. Next card is 14, right? So we've got what we've gained from before carried over the destruction of 13 into the new with the 14. I mean, that's one way to think of and remember that. Perthro. The rune for number 14 is Perthro. Lovely, lovely rune. Kind of looks like a dice cup turned on its side. And so that idea of gaming is part of the associations with that rune. But other associations are decision and mystery and prophecy. Yeah? Prophecy of uncertainty, secrecy, but also occult skills and initiation. Fertility, partnership. Yeah? Fertility, we were talking about the feeding of things, the nourishing of things, and the nourishment. So here we have that idea of fertility from that, perhaps. Female knowledge is also a part of that rune, which makes me think of Sophia, the female wisdom, the female mind of God. So those are interesting associations for temperance, right? What does the guidebook say about temperance? It says separating out the dross from essence in the alchemical process. Like we often think of temperance as the alchemical or the card of alchemy. So that's we burn up what we've got, we boil it up, and we separate out the dross, the impurities, to come to the essence. In alchemy, we assume that would be gold. Also, we have Raphael, which is the healer angel, balancing forces. And often the alchemical temperance card is also the healing card, the alchemist, that kind of alchemist, the apothecary, the one who creates the potions for us for the healing, kind of like what we see on the temperance cards. Polarized forces brought together here. So when we think of justice, we think of balancing them out. Here we bringing them together, merging, smashing them together, like atoms, smashing them together for fusion, and the power that can be released when that happens. Living balance, yeah, not the static balance of perhaps Libra or perhaps the justice card, but a living balance, a fluid balance, right? Because this is a water sign, Scorpio, a fluid balance. Inner and outer life, ego and the collective, me and us. Again, the libido and the spiritual, perhaps. Mixture brings new. Now we mix things together and the new self can be born. Now here we have, you see the dove here? This dove is also Sophia. Sophia, in different forms. So annunciation of the Holy Spirit to complete incarnation. I, as the eternal nature, I'm here inhabiting this world. I have incarnated. And Sophia is here to remind me, you, us of that. These are all wonderful associations. And this is the challenge for me, us here today with Isis Unveiled. It's to not only to bring things together, as we were talking about with the chariot for motion forward, but we're bringing them together also for healing. That's the challenge, the positive challenge. Bring together for healing, for fertility, for balance, for selfhood to be revealed. Because we are called by the Holy Spirit to become the eternal nature that we are in these human bodies. And also to prophesy, to transmit, to speak the mind of the divine that we can tap into, because that's who we are. It's not something external or something out there that we have to reach for to tap into. We are tapped into that. And so we have the opportunity here to open to our transmission of what we have tapped into. And so what is the advice? The advice is to hurry the fuck up, to hurry up. Yeah, here we have the Eight of Wands. And what do we see here? We see a fire. That's the first thing I see. And in either behind the fire, there's what seems to be a caduceus, right? With two serpents, one red and one greenish in the background. We see this burst of light coming from above. We see the 8 wands on the side. And beneath the 8 wands, there's a lot of fertile growth going on in the grass. And what we could imagine is underneath the tree on the other side, that the dead material, the dead matter is being burned away to fertilize, to nourish the ground so that more can grow. It's energizing. The sun is energizing the land for growth, for evolution perhaps. And at the bottom we have the association of Sagittarius and the sun. Why? Because the 8 of Wands points to the Leo decanate of Sagittarius and its sub-ruler, the sun, from which the fixed aspect of mutable fire's vital attributes enter our world. And I am Leo, my sun is Leo, so my sun sign with my sun planet, the planet which is my sign is the domicile of the sun, so the sun is there in my sign, and in that sign's room in the larger sign of, I'm not explaining this very well. You probably already know what I'm trying to say, but saying so poorly on this very last video of the series. Every one of the signs has 3 decanates. We can think of them as 3 rooms in the house of the owner. So here we have the house or the home of Sagittarius. And Sagittarius has 3 rooms in Sagittarius's house. And the first room of the Sagittarian house is the master bedroom, and it's the room of Sagittarius. So Sagittarius's planet resides there. It's a sub-ruler there. The second of these is the second one of these would be the room for Aries. The next, fire sign. And so Mars would be the sub-ruler of this one. And then the third, this is the third decanate of the 8 of Wands, is the Leo, room for Leo, so we've got the sun beaming through this one. And so we've got the sun moving through Sagittarius, which is a wonderful thing. And that's the advice for me, is to be me in Sagittarius, perhaps. And what does that point to? Well, it points to things like closing in on a goal that is soon to be achieved because it's upright. Yeah, there's something I'm moving towards that I want, and it can be possible soon, and very soon. Sudden acceleration. We often think of the 8 of Wands as things moving faster, right? Things getting energized. Large amount of energy about to be released. Like when we think of Pamela Coleman Smith's art, we see these 8 batons flying through the air. Yeah, this power being released. Like people have been perhaps throwing the spears or their batons, or they've been shot out of something like a cannon. It's also a reminder that we must master ourselves before we can avail ourselves of these resources. Conquer our fear of fire before we can use it productively. But still we want to be ready to leap into action and respond properly when that energy is ignited. Right? And that's such a good closing message. I think good closing advice for me is that's what it's asking me, I think, to do. Not so much today. At least I hope it wasn't asking me to do that today, because I didn't do that today. But I think for the next cycle of my channel, my series, as I dive back into my regular series, Unpacking Living an Intentional Life with Tarot and also Tarot de Marseille. So let me tell you what's been going on for me today. Like I said, I stayed home. I had some conversations with my friends from both Indonesia and Thailand, which were nice. What else? I watched a movie. I got ready for next week a little bit. I prepared this. It was a very quiet day, and that's the kind of day that I had been anticipating for myself. And in a little bit, I'm going to relax and watch a movie because tomorrow we begin preparing for the next semester, which is the next week, the week after next coming up. So we have a big faculty meeting tomorrow, and then, things will start getting into gear. So I guess that makes sense for this card to appear for me for today, because this is the preparation for things to really start getting going tomorrow, I guess. I also have decided how I wanted to perhaps do this with the help of this and this. I've decided to bring things together for my next series for my channel. I think I've worked out a spread. I'm a little intimidated and anticipating how it will work, but also a little bit intimidated by what I have planned to do. So what happened? I think I told you that I've kind of worked out a spread for my next month or two of my channel's videos. It's based on the Tree of Life. It's also based on the Ace of Cups from this deck. And So I'm excited about it, and I'm still trying to figure out how to do it, because the spread, I'm not sure. I'm still trying to put things together, to balance things out. Yeah. There are a couple of interesting challenges using that spread on video. And like I said, I'm not really sure how I'm going to do it. I think I might be doing it with the camera down. We'll see. We'll see. So I think this is giving me the one, a pat on the back, job well done, time to move on. The thing I'm moving on to, I can be successful at, and successful soon and very soon. But the advice is to get energized, to bring things together, to, yeah, right? I think that's what this reading is about. I think this reading is about where I'm going to go next with my work with tarot here on YouTube, with my work with tarot, perhaps even in a larger context. Perhaps. That makes sense, doesn't it? I'm not sure if I'm expressing that clearly enough. But like I said, I'm going to be bringing together, I'm going to continue bringing together the Tarot of the Holy Light and Egyptian tarots. Not only the Egyptian tarot by the Brotherhood of Light, but I'm thinking of using the Egyptian tarot by Llewellyn. Might have also been by it might have also been, Llewellyn also is the overseeing house for Lo Scarabeo as well. I'm not sure if it was a Lo Scarabeo deck or generally a Llewellyn deck. Anyways, there's another Egyptian tarot that I think I'm going to pair with my color version of the one from the Brotherhood of Light, using the Tarot of the Holy Light as the center pillar, and I'm thinking of using an astrological oracle deck for filling in the two gaps in the Tree of Life. And so that's where I'm going. We're bringing things together, things that I think will work together well, that will communicate well, but are not the same, right? So I think that's what this is telling me, that is where I want to be going. So like I said, a little bit of encouragement. I feel encouraged by that reading. Don't you think that's encouraging? Don't you? If you do, let me know in the comments below. If you would read that differently, let me know in the comments below. I would really love to hear from you. Also, if you haven't done it yet, hit that thumbs up button. I stumbled over telling you why that's good, but yeah, it's good for the channel. So thank you very much for doing that. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. I'm probably going to be going back to 2, maybe 3 videos a week. So getting that alarm will be helpful for you. And if you haven't started watching this video series from the beginning, you might enjoy that. Just saying. If you want to get these decks yourself, I have links in the description box below. I have Christine Payne-Towler's site, the link for that below. I highly recommend this deck and at least one of the 2 guidebooks that go with that deck. I've learned so much from the deck, from working with the deck. I've grown immensely as a reader. I also recommend the tarot, the Egyptian tarot, and the mass market version is not expensive. It is very reasonable and it's readily available. I have an Amazon link below, but you can find it at any large bookstore site, I'm sure. Book Depository would have it too. So go at it and get that deck too. I would recommend starting with this one because I think it's a little bit more accessible, though different, and then maybe moving on into this one. That's the way I did it, and I found that to be a helpful sequence. So there's that. And if you want a reading from me, my email address is below. thehangedmaninthemoon@gmail.com. Shoot me an email and we will get you a reading however you want it done, by written out as an email with a photo, with a video, by Zoom, whatever. We can do what suits your tastes. So thank you very much, friends. Thank you for walking this journey with me as we come to the end here, the last video. And I'm blessed to have to have had you with me on this journey. Your support and your encouragement and your presence has been a blessing. And in return, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.